after Seneca Crane ends up talking to Snow, there's an announcement in the arena that two tributes from the same district can now win. It's kind of odd, and I bring this up not because it's different than the book, but it's a different time. This in the movie happens right after Rue's death, pretty much. So it seems she's, just sitting there crying, thinking about it, and that happens during the day. Is it that big of a difference? Probably not. But at least at that point, then she has reason to go off and actually go look for him. So she goes off, looks for him, ends up doing her little hunting thing to try and find him. I thought that was pretty cool. However, when they find him, his camouflage. Now, obviously, any readers of the book would be wanting to know how they're going to do it and what are they going to do. And then you tend to see it and kind of go, wow, really? But if you think about it for too long, and then it kind of goes away, you tend to think of, well, how could he have really done that without a mirror for one? I don't know, just what things are around him that would have been able to do that. I don't think it should have been his face. If PETA ended up doing his camouflage like he did at the training center, then it would have made more sense. But to him to apply it to his face, I just didn't buy it. Sorry, but I wish it would have been a little different than what it was. But then Katniss ends up finding him finally, and the only thing that's really wrong with him is the cut on his leg. They did a good job with the makeup on this because it actually looked like a pretty bad cut, and it looked kind of pussy and infected and that kind of stuff. So, kudos to the FX crew. That's pretty much where that dies, because that's the only wound that he has that's really needing. So she kind of hobbles him off and gets him into the cave. Okay, in the cave now. Now, obviously, anybody that's read the book is waiting for these scenes, the cave scenes, because it's the whole romance of the story. The whole where she starts to fall for him and they start exchanging kisses, and that whole backstory of these two characters finally comes out into the light, and how long Peeta's liked her, and all that, and the great dialogue that was written, and none of it came through. None of it did. I was really disappointed with those scenes, honestly. They were still good. They were good as a movie, but we're talking the differences between the book and the movie and what was better and what would have made more sense. And after Katniss drags Peeta to the cave to get him out of the view of the other tributes trying to kill him, he has this fever because of the cut on his leg, and it causes him to speak really, really fast, apparently. And he starts spitting out that whole story of Katniss and the song and stuff like that. But it happens so quick that she pretty much just kisses him to shut him up, opposed to actually having the big romantic kiss that wasn't. I think at that point, after Rue's death and finding him, that they needed to slow the action back down to make it the romantic kiss that it was meant to be. They really needed to actually fit in that whole story of when did forever start. That was the main focus of that whole cave scene, and as a reader, you were really looking forward to the whole cave scene and how they built up the whole relationship between the two. And in the movie, they didn't. My friends that went to go see the movie with me that didn't read the book really thought that they were just faking the whole relationship just to get to the prizes and the parachutes. So I don't think they did a really good job trying to portray that they really did start falling for one another in the cave. That was a crucial moment. She doesn't need to induce Peeta with the sleep medicine because he just falls asleep, and she just leaves him. So she leaves him there sleeping in the cave while she goes to the feast. And the first thing that you notice is all the tributes packages are all laid out on a picnic table thing, and they're all the same size. That's obviously different than the book because Katniss's was so small that she was able to wear it around her wrist because it was a syringe. This time around, they're all the same. It provides a little bit more air of mystery, perhaps, to find out why or what was in each of those bags. Then Thresh comes to the rescue. Yay, Thresh. So he ends up getting Clove and throws her up against the cornucopia. However, he doesn't kill her with the rock, and I guess just throwing her against that metal cornucopia was enough to kill her because she just slumps back down and dies. There is a cannon fire for her, though. So when Katniss makes it back to the cave to give Peeta his medicine, she only has a light cut on her forehead. and the medicine that she gets is just another gel, kind of like she did for her burns. So she just slaps that on him. He slaps it on her forehead, and by the morning, they're both fine again. Then comes the Mutts. At first you hear them, and then you hear Thresh scream, and then the cannon fire goes off, and you get to see his face up in the sky, that he's dead. So Thresh dying by the Mutts, I don't necessarily like, because I don't view the Mutts in that way. I view them kind of like they did with the fire, trying to redirect Katniss back to fight people. And they pretty much did that in the book also. They used the Mutts to get everybody that was left, at that point there was like 3, to go back to the cornucopia to actually have them fight it out at the end. They weren't meant to actually kill anybody, they were just meant to kind of force people together. But in the book is one thing, in the movie they actually kill Thresh off screen again, and you just get to hear it, and then he's dead. So you finally get to see what the Mutts look like. They don't look like the werewolves that's in the book. They're not dog-like creatures walking around on 2 legs. They're actually on all 4s, more like a bulldog. This is probably because of the movie Twilight, believe it or not, trying to distance themselves from the whole werewolf aspect of that supernatural, and it's just a cool play on words with the word Mutts. So this forces them back up on the cornucopia, where they meet Cato. Cato is already on the cornucopia, and he doesn't run past them, he doesn't fight them, he doesn't do anything. Along the way, they just run to the cornucopia themselves, and both Katniss and Peeta climb up, and Cato's there waiting for them. So there's no mention at all whether or not he actually got the package from Thresh. There's no mention that Thresh actually stole Cato's package, so there was no reason for him to go back down and kill Thresh. There's no mention of whether he got his armor or not, and there's no need for it because Katniss never shoots him in the chest to try and kill him. So the whole fight scene up on top of the cornucopia I thought was very well done. It was very close to the book, and Cato, or Ludwig's acting as Cato, was very spot on. He did a very good job. So you expect this big happy ending now that Cato's dead, and it becomes light out again, and everything's all great. So then they end up saying only one person can win, not the 2 that they originally said. So to get back at them, they end up standing in the book, back to back, with their hands out, showing everybody, we got the berries, we're going to eat them, you better do something. In the movie, not so much. They kind of crouch down, they're face to face towards one another. I mean, the book is great, you should have followed it. Stand them back to back, have them hold it out, have the screw you to the capital, and I'm not going to be part of your games anymore, and you're not going to tell me who's going to live and who's going to die, that you have that power in your own hands. I thought that was a great part in the book, and it came across that way. In the movie, not so much. President Snow ends up crowning the champion, which in this case apparently is only Katniss, because there's one crown, but it doesn't split like it does in the book. And she gets the whole thing, and Peeta's just kind of left there in the side going, hey, what about me? But unfortunately, there's only one crown. I like it at the end, when Katniss ends up finally getting back to District 12, and they pan back into the game room again, and Snow is there. That's a good scene. I like the way that portrays how Snow is keeping an interest in them, and future endeavors that he has in store, which you'll find out Catching Fire, which is my favorite book. I'm hoping they turn it into a really good movie. If they need a director or need help directing to figure out which spots in the movie to keep from in the book, I'm here. I volunteer. I would love to do that. If you need my advice, please let me know. Leave me a message. Feel free if you guys want to leave me a message also. I plan on doing this a little bit more. This is my favorite movie at the moment, and or from my favorite book in the series, and this was my Spot the Differences between the Hunger Games movie and the book. I hope you enjoyed this. This is all my little rants and raves about my favorite book turned into a movie now, The Hunger Games from Suzanne Collins. I'm Sean Klenna. I thank you very much, and I'm out.